Right, so I love talking about movies and TV shows, like deep movies and deep TV shows on this channel, but I also really love reality TV. I think reality TV is a great vessel for couples and friends and co-workers to analyze real people and then open up to each other about actual, real world issues and moral standings. Genuinely, I think when reality TV is done well, it can really inform you about the people around you. I think Love is Blind Season 7 has given us so much good stuff. Genuinely so much good stuff in that regard. So this is going to be a post-game discussion of Love is Blind Season 7 before the reunion. So this is after the weddings. This is basically the majority of the show minus the reunion episode. I'll do a separate video on that. This video hopefully will work for people who haven't seen the show. I'll give a brief explanation as to what the show is. And then we are going to go couple by couple and talk about the most unhinged moments, the biggest red flags, and the most chaotic, weird shit that this season of Love is Blind has delivered. So for those of you who don't know, Love is Blind is a show where a bunch of contestants are picked and then they basically do blind dating for 10 days with a bunch of different people, and they have to quickly pick someone they want to get engaged to, like literally engaged to, based on love alone without seeing the person. Then they see each other in person and they live together for 28 days. And at the end of the 28 days, they get married. They have to decide whether they will separate or get married, a legally binding marriage. So they go from not knowing anything about the person to 40 days later being married. And as a result, what you get through this insane love bombing, emotional manipulation, trauma dumping experience is some of the best drama I've seen in reality TV ever.
I love you to death, and I really do care about you, but truthfully, you've been a little clingy.
Clingy?
Well, you're saying you want me to give you more love and affection, and I feel like you're giving me too much.
Clingy?
I felt like...
Are you fucking kidding me? Even you're calling me clingy? That was fucking rude.
So anyway, how about anal, huh?
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
God, I could win a Nobel Prize if I had a vagina. And for a lot of guys, like there are women that are homewreckers out there that are like, I don't give a fuck what your situation is. I want to suck.
Despite Netflix's failings in creating a cohesive, well-paced edit this season, despite them constantly missing some of the best fights and things we wish we saw, this show still delivers some of the greatest reality TV drama I've seen in a while. So let's talk about it. First off, we have Monica and Steven. Now, I'm just going to say it. Steven was giving me red flags from the jump. It's not that I think if you've cheated once in your past, you are always a terrible person and you can never be redeemed. But I think how you look back on your actions, how you reflect on them, how you talk about them is really important. And if Steven had told Monica, yeah, I cheated in the past and I've never been able to forgive myself, like I look back on that and I can't believe who I was back then, I would have had no issues. That's a real raw human moment, especially if he's grown from that. My issue is the way he told Monica in the pods that he had cheated before was basically this weird thing of him really just telling the lies he tells himself, telling the things he uses to cope to Monica. It was complete denial. It was really just like, oh, I didn't feel good enough for her, and like, it was really hard, and like, it was technically cheating, but like, I've really grown since then, so, yeah. Like, it was really just not once considering the actual emotional fallout, really not exclaiming that he would never do it again. There was no sign of growth. It was really just like, FYI, disclaimer, I have cheated, because you'll probably ask, but like, whatever, it's not even that big of a deal. That is the kind of sub-communication I got.
I technically hold the title of being a cheater. I've been cheated on multiple times as well. I believed that this person that I was dating at the time, I believed I didn't deserve her.
I really didn't like how it was delivered, and it didn't give Monica much room to ask any more questions.
And there was a lot of, we went through therapy, we figured it out. I'm actively in therapy to talk about these things.
If I was in the pods, right, I would want to ask more questions and be like, is he going to cheat if there are kind of like sexual issues that come up? Is he going to cheat if he has a tough time at work? Is this a one-time mistake, a product of a younger man, or is this something ingrained into him? And the way he delivers this information to Monica basically gives her no room to figure that out. I did not like it. I was a bit icked from Steven from the start.
And I can tell, even the way you described how upset you were with yourself. Like, I really appreciate it, and I think that you were like too hard on yourself.
It was, yeah, it sucked. Also, I'm gonna stop you for a second because I really want to take you on a date tonight.
You do?
Yes, I do.
Really, the way Steven talked about his cheating was basically toxic boy learns therapy speak. It sounded like he'd gone to therapy and learned how to like kind of talk in a way that softens everything, and I didn't really love it. It felt rather manipulative.
Everyone has a different concept of cheating. One person's could be, looking at someone. Someone else's could be an actual physical act.
On top of that, I didn't love his reasoning for voting for Trump. I genuinely would have preferred if he just said, yeah, look, I voted for Trump because I kind of drank the Kool-Aid and I really regret that now. But instead he said to Monica, yeah, I voted for Trump because I didn't like Hillary. And if you don't give any more reasons than that, it oftentimes just sounds like, yeah, I didn't want a woman to be president. He rubbed me the wrong way from the start. So what's interesting is I started not liking Steven and really liked Monica. And then when they started living together, I did actually think Monica was rather hard on Steven in a few parts. Basically, the situation here was Steven had said in the pods that he would be the type of guy to get her flowers, the type of guy to like make big gestures for her. And then when they're living together, it's literally been like 2 days, maybe 3 days. She's telling him off for not getting him flowers. She says, you said in the pods you'd make all these big gestures. You said you'd get flowers. He then proceeds to say, oh, well, I wrote you like love notes. And to me, it felt like a turn of phrase, like I think writing someone a love note should not be discounted, even if you mention you were getting flowers. I thought she was being a bit harsh, and to me what it felt like was that sort of put him in a defensive position where he started worrying about their compatibility. He felt like he was getting grilled a bit. On top of that, the Kate Spade conversation was a bit of a strange one. He said like, oh, I'm not going to be the type of guy that has the financial means to get you something really nice, like Kate Spade. And I think what happened here was to him, Kate Spade felt like luxury. And to her, Kate Spade did not feel like luxury. So Monica, instead of kind of understanding that what Steven was trying to say is, I'm going to do my best to do romantic gestures, even if they're not the most, lavish financially, she then went, oh, well, don't get me a Kate Spade bag. If you're going to get me a nice bag, get me Louis Vuitton.
Top quality, like a Kate Spade bag. So, something.
It's like a YSL bag.
I don't even know what that is.
Louis Vuitton? You've heard of Louis Vuitton.
Is he like a big deal?
It's a big deal.
Okay.
And I found this very strange. But then also, Steven said he didn't know what Louis Vuitton was or Saint Laurent was. And I don't know, did we buy that? It felt very pick-me. I don't know about that one. And we had this fireworks situation. So basically, Monica walks by Steven at some point because the fireworks are going off when they're hanging out with the other couples. And he goes, yeah, I'll be there in a sec. She walks over and then the fireworks stop. And then in my opinion, yes, I understand why that's disappointing. And I think it's fair enough if she raised it with him. Like, hey, like I asked you to come to the fireworks and you didn't. But I felt like the way she came at him afterwards was pretty relentless, very passive aggressive. She made a lot of direct comments that would obviously set off an anxious response in Steven. And then when he tried to repair it, she basically went, oh, why are you worried? Why are you anxious? Like, go away, it's fine. When clearly it was not fine, And I felt like this was a bit cruel of Monica, in my opinion. Like, Monica really wanted Steven to be worried and scared for the rest of the night, and I really didn't love that. However, the way Steven begins to unravel here is genuinely insane. So Steven makes some efforts to repair. Monica brushes him off, intentionally trying to like scare him, in my opinion. And then Steven just begins to like say some of the weirdest shit I've ever heard. He starts talking to Taylor about like, oh, like there are going to be a lot of girls like throwing themselves at me. And like part of this experiment is, like being able to like turn down, like if a girl wants to suck your dick, like, I need to be able to like, get that away. And like those challenges are really going to be hard. It's like, dude, why are you saying this?
And for a lot of guys, like there are women that are homewreckers out there that are like, I don't give a fuck what your situation is. I want to suck.
It was so strange. And Taylor actually brings this up later and says how strange it was. Really peculiar. On top of that, Steven just begins to get absolutely down bad sexually. It's so bizarre. Like, genuinely what I feel like happened was Monica and Steven must have been really compatible initially. Everything must have been smooth sailing for a couple of days. They must have been really sexually compatible. And then when Steven started being fucking weird, right? I think Monica probably stopped sleeping with him. And then he went on this mission to just insert sexual innuendos and sexual implications literally everywhere he could.
Could you imagine being the first man with a legitimate vagina? I'd be able to compare now the difference between getting kicked in the nuts and giving birth. Giving birth is the only time a woman comes close to understanding what it's like when a man has a common cold.
Honest, there's so many different things you could put your dick inside. Pineapple, bowl of macaroni and cheese.
So we get that weird dick sucking conversation earlier. Then like every chance he gets, he'll just mention butt play. He'll try make every single serious conversation sexual. It is really bizarre to watch, and it starts getting really, really ugly. There's this interesting moment where Monica is literally saying to him like, yeah, we haven't been physical for a while because you said to me that you're unsure about getting married, and I don't want to give that part of myself to someone who's not sure of me. Totally fair. Totally reasonable boundary. Steven then responds by going like, oh, you know, babe, like I'm always ready to go. Like if you want to use me, if you want to take advantage of me, like absolutely go nuts. Like if the wind blows, you know, I'm ready to go. And it's like, bro, are you that dense? It is not an issue of like she wants to have sex with you, but she thinks you might reject her. It's an issue of she literally does not want to sleep with you because you're being fucking weird. But then on top of that, there's this really disgusting moment that I feel like not enough people have talked about where Monica actually calls out Steven briefly for poking around her butt, right? So basically what that's implying is when they're doing the deed, he keeps trying to like put it somewhere where she doesn't want. And she's mentioned this to him before, and he keeps trying to like get away with it and push that boundary. And look, like I know in the throes of passion, sometimes people want to try things, but if someone's made it explicitly clear that they don't consent to something and you keep playing dumb and pretending it's an accident, that's fucking vile. And my impression of that conversation is that's what he was doing. And after that, like I totally turn on Steven. I was like, I hate people, specifically men that play dumb, you know, do this whole thing of like, oh, it was just an accident, babe. But then when you dig deeper, it was clearly intentional. And this is shown because then Steven doubles down and goes like, oh, you know, well, I really like butt stuff and I don't just want it to be something that happens on my birthday. And it's like, dude, she hasn't even agreed to it being on your birthday. Like, what the fuck are you doing? I really did not like Steven from here. And it gets worse. It gets worse because then Steven goes for a sleep test, which is something where you like get your sleep analyzed if you're having sleep problems. He's gone out of Monica's sight for like what, 7 hours? And then starts like emotionally cheating on her with some random. And apparently Monica went through his phone and saw that he'd been doing this for like ages. So at this point, Monica's up here, all right? She's handled herself incredibly well. Steven's a fucking idiot. He talks all the time. He keeps pushing these sexual implications. And you know what? I started to actually side with Monica. How come he's so good at pushing these sexual things that she doesn't want, but then doesn't deliver on the flowers? You know, initially I felt bad for him. I was like, oh, it's only been 3 days. He's written you love notes. But 2 weeks in, she's mentioned flowers like 7 times, and now he's making jokes about it and not doing anything about it, but keeps putting things where she doesn't want them. It was driving me nuts. So Steven and Monica's relationship started with a confession about cheating, and it ends with a confession about cheating.
Reading those text messages filled with fetishes and coming in, like, it's disgusting, Steven.
You're right. You're right.
Stop acting like you're right. I know I'm right. Say something else. Why did you do this? Why did you propose? Why did you come here? Like, who are you? Were you guys texting today?
No.
You weren't texting today. Okay, let me see your phone.
I deleted the message.
Of course you did.
Yeah, because I didn't want to look at it either.
They started yesterday and they went through today.
I honestly don't remember texting her today because I knew what I was doing, and if...
You didn't know what you were doing last night?
No, I did know what I was doing last night, and I know that it was a stupid decision, and it was coupled with the conversation that we had last night.
Don't you fucking blame me at all.
I'm not blaming you. I'm blaming my actions on myself based on how I took our conversation. I'm taking full responsibility for this, which is why I'm getting my stuff and I'm leaving you alone.
Great.
And Monica turns into an absolute queen when basically she says, you know what, I've been putting you up for the past couple of days because you haven't been working. I've been chatting all these dinners. I would love if you could Venmo me.
Before you leave, I would like you to Venmo me the money you owe me for me carrying your weight the last couple days. If you wouldn't mind taking out your phone now to send me the Venmo.
And apparently the description of the Venmo payment that Steven put was like a piece of shit tax or something. Hilarious. Monica was clearly upset. Steven had wasted her time. Walking red flag. But I hated the way he kind of like walked around and was doing this like, woe is me, like, I don't know what to do. Like, just let me know what you want me to do. Like, bro, leave. Next, we're going to talk about Brittany and Leo. Look, this is going to be a quick one because they were cooked from the start. Leo is weird. He is a strange unit. He comes out the gate and goes, I'm really wealthy and I don't want people to know. I'm going to be, you know, really careful not to let people know so I can get with someone who isn't just with me for my money. He then proceeds in every single blind dating section to go, yeah, I'm like extremely wealthy and like, you know, people sometimes really, you know, have ideas about me because I'm like extremely wealthy. And yeah, he just tells everyone that he's wealthy, like the first chance he gets. And it's perplexing to watch.
Like that money's lucrative job for money. Money, really all my money, but financially like very well off. Yeah. Like I'm a rich fucking artist, like the money. I have money.
And that's crazy.
On top of that, he then gets out and does this to a bunch of guys as well. And I love seeing the guys all be like really perturbed and confused by what he's doing. He then picks Brittany, who explicitly says she wants to be retired. She wants to be a trad wife. She does not want to work. She wants to be pretty much completely supported. And he goes, fuck yeah, sounds like a deal. But there's an interesting twist because he also has this woman named Hannah on the line, who we will talk about later. Do not worry. So he's actually stringing two women along. And this peaks in a moment where he finds out that Hannah is probably going to go with someone named Nick. And he doesn't like that. So he starts love bombing Hannah and goes, oh my God, I can't believe you're throwing everything we had away. And Hannah goes, oh, well, were you going to pick me? And he goes, no, it doesn't matter. I just can't believe you've already made a decision when I haven't made a decision yet.
Oh my God.
Hannah, like, what? Like, fuck, Hannah, like.
This is horrible. I don't like this.
Okay, I'll stop.
Oh my God.
I do not take that shit lightly, Hannah. Like, that's why I'm here sitting with you, Hannah, trying to talk this out with you right now.
Yeah, I think I just need some sleep.
God damn it.
And basically, it's very clear at this point that what Leo wanted, right, was Leo wanted to have two women at once fawning after him, begging for him, and then he can just choose whoever he wants. But unfortunately, Hannah has actually decided that she's more compatible with Nick, and that hurts Leo's ego. So Leo just completely falls apart at this idea and begs for Hannah, even though he can't even give her a straight answer on whether he will choose her or not. It's absolutely wild. Then Hannah obviously goes, well, I'm going to go with Nick, so, you know, bye. So then he goes back to Brittany. Fortunately for Leo, and we see this in his face, Leo is very happy with how Brittany looks. So it's clear to me that what happened was Leo liked Hannah on a personality level more, but he ended up with Brittany. But then when he met Brittany in person, he was really happy with how she looked. And this is made abundantly clear by the fact that he is incredibly touchy-feely when she's really uncomfortable. I genuinely found this section really icky. I don't even want to imagine what any sexual dynamic looks like between these two people when this is how, you know, the giving of a jacket is handled. This is how hugs are handled. It genuinely feels like she's trying to escape and he is smothering her. She says she doesn't want his jacket. He insists and like forces it on her. It is a rough watch and Brittany feels genuinely scared and worried. And I do understand why Netflix didn't give them any more airtime. I don't want to like hypothesize too much, but it really does feel like maybe they thought, yeah, I don't know if we can get behind this. This feels too weird, too strange, and no one's going to buy that this is actually about love. Hi guys, Marshall from the future here. While I've got you, I want to tell you about my memberships to this channel. So for a small cost, you can join Stannis' Stands, a YouTube membership to this channel where every week I cover episodes of a show that we've picked. Currently, we're covering Tell Me Lies Season 1. I'm going to be talking about episodes 2 and 3 tomorrow, and the video will be coming this week. On top of that, also, I will be including in this paid membership a podcast where I speedrun everything I've watched in a given month. That'll be every 2 to 4 weeks, depending on my schedule. That'll also be a perk of the membership. If this sounds interesting to you, we will be choosing different shows after the initial show ends, and you also get access to that podcast. Members get to vote about what I talk about and will be able to submit requests for me to watch things to talk about. So if this sounds interesting to you, please consider paying for a membership to this channel. It really helps me out and I would absolutely love it. Thank you so much for watching and have a lovely day. All right, let's talk about Marissa and Ramses. I'm going to be real. I had my guards up about Ramses from the start. I had a bunch of alarm bells going off. And the reason I say this is because, yes, toxic masculinity is bad, all right? There are a lot of men in this world that are absolutely awful and perpetuate toxic ideas. But I do also get concerned when you meet people that have clearly listened to this discourse and are using it to their advantage. I genuinely find it strange when in the first moments of meeting someone, a guy will go, hey, you know, I'm not like other men who are really toxic. You know, I really reject these ideas. Like, you know, I'm actually one of the good ones. Be careful of these men. It was really, really confusing to me to see that in early days on Reddit, people really loved Ramses. Because for me, I was like, nah, this guy has something going on. Like, no one needs to overcorrect this hard. I think he's probably going to be manipulative. And he was probably one of the worst men in this season by the end of it. I always just have my guards up with these people that know the right things to say, because it always just feels like they've been listening to what women have to say and manipulating it back in their favor without actually hearing it. You know, it always sets off my alarm bells. And this is first seen, in my opinion, in the chat he has with Marissa about her military service. Now, I know this is a hot button issue. I know some people are really anti-US military, and I understand the reasoning, but I did not like the way he was speaking to her. She had a very open, vulnerable, emotional moment where she talked to Ramses about the fact that she did serve in the military, and there are things she regrets, there are things she is haunted by, and she really kind of has to morally struggle because she wants to serve her country, but she also doesn't like the actions that the country takes when she is serving them. It's super fascinating, and she's just trying to open up to him and have a moral sort of discussion about something she feels guilt over. And instead of having empathy and like hearing her out in this discussion and like talking about like, wow, that must have been so hard. Like, I do get it. It must be really rough given you were raised on a military base. He just starts giving her shit. He goes like, well, you signed up. Like, what did you expect? I found it really quite cruel. And it's not that I disagree with Ramses's views of the US military, but I just thought the way he was trying to make her like feel bad and kind of hold her over the flames when she was doing that herself was really, really strange. Again, felt really condescending and patronizing in my opinion.
But they sign up for it.
We do sign up for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's so nuanced. It's a job to some people. They sacrifice like a lot.
Okay, but they're signing up for this, baby.
No, I know. But
it's, you talk about sacrifice.
You have no control. Like, you have no control over what you do. They can tell you to run into a building.
But you go. But you're signing up for it. No one's putting a gun to your head and saying you have to run into this building and kill these. Like, it's
They're not. But I will tell you, I didn't understand the gravity of that. I didn't sign up to go kill people, even though I technically did join the military.
It's the military, babe.
Yeah, I know.
Like the guns and all of that's not there for no reason.
But then we get to the birth control chat. My issue is I think every functional adult knows that, yes, like wearing a condom is slightly less awesome than the real thing. But I think for Ramses to literally say, hey, like it will not be enjoyable for me if I have to wear them is basically putting her in the position. He is hoping that she is vulnerable and naive enough to be manipulated and go, oh, he doesn't enjoy it at all. Well, I guess I'll go on the pill, even though I've been on it before and it's caused really bad side effects. And I've told him that, like, oh, okay, like I didn't realize it was that bad for him. That's what he's hoping for.
It's not like if I wear one, it's just not.
We can raw dog it. Like, we either have condom sex or we don't have condom sex, and we accept the consequences of not having condom sex, which sounds insane, but it's the truth. I'm okay if we got pregnant. Like, what?
No, I'm just thinking through it. Yeah, so I definitely don't want to like put you in a position where like you're doing something that you don't want to do.
Okay, cool. So we can just agree to have condom sex from here on out.
It's not really enjoyable, baby. Sex is supposed to be like mutually enjoyable. Like, it's not something that guys, ever have the pressure to having to think about.
I think it's really cruel. And on top of that, he's clearly taking feminist talking points about sex being mutually enjoyable, you know, the pleasure gap, and using that to his advantage by saying like, oh, like sex is meant to be mutually enjoyable and like it just really isn't that good for me. I think that's such a mean, manipulative thing to say. And if I was Marissa, I would have been like, okay, well, you're not getting anything anymore. Like, how ungrateful, you know, like we are meant to be doing the most intimate thing people can do. And you're sitting here telling me that like, if you have to wear a condom, like there's nothing in it for you, like nothing you enjoy. Like, it's just not enjoyable for you. It's cruel. It's mean. I do not like it. I do not like it at all. On top of that, he validates her briefly and goes like, oh, you know, like I know about like the health concerns, but like, yeah, it's just not enjoyable for me, baby. Like, what are we? 15? And look, I don't have an issue if the conversation then turned into like, oh, would you consider IUD? Should I get a vasectomy? Like, are there any other alternatives, or is that it? Condoms. fine. But the idea that he's going to sit there and be like, yeah, not going to be enjoyable for me if I have to do that, so I guess you better go on this thing that you've literally told me you don't want to go on because you have bad experiences with it. I just can't believe a 30-something-year-old man is seriously sitting here going, baby, it just doesn't feel good with it. Like, come on. However, I will say, I do think Marissa needs a bit more agency. I know she's getting manipulated and gaslit by Ramses, but if it was me, I never would have had sex with him again after that. I especially then wouldn't have said like, oh, well, we can raw dog it and just live with the consequences. I would not want to live with the consequences of having Ramses's child after that's how he behaves. Absolutely not. Like that, I would be shut for business. Absolutely nothing. Like I am so disgusted by Ramses in this section. And I know that Marissa has come out since then, actually defended him and said that the overall conversation wasn't as bad, and later he like cooled off. But I don't know, man, like you could hold a gun to my head and I still wouldn't say to my partner, like, if I wear a condom, sex isn't enjoyable. Like I think that's just such a mean, dismissive thing to say. And like he can't mean that. Like really? Fucking really? But it gets worse. It gets more sexually manipulative because in the next scene, right, Marissa is sick. She is PMSing. She's on her period. She's not feeling well. And I guess they haven't had sex for like 2 or 3 days maybe. And he starts doing the whole like, babe, I'm like touch starved. Like you're not being intimate with me. And she goes, oh, you know, I am just sick. Like things will take a bit of a, you know, a bit of a downward turn in that department when I'm not feeling that great. And instead of being like, oh yeah, no, that's true. You're right. Fair enough. Sorry. I'm just being sensitive. He keeps fucking going. Like he keeps going like, oh, you know, like if it looks like this now, how's it going to look like in a real marriage? Blah, 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 blah. It wasn't, baby, can I get you anything? Is there anything you need to get you through this time? It was really cruel and manipulative and I couldn't believe he was doing it. And again, if this was like a marriage of 3 to 5 years and they hadn't had sex for like a couple of months or something, like I'd be like, fine, like talk about it. That's a valid discussion. But it's literally like 2 days and she's explicitly clearly not feeling well. And he's like, oh my God, I just, you know, like I don't want the relationship to look like this long term. Like I really, you know, I want to check it now. It's like, what is wrong with you?
Well, especially like the sexual stuff. It's like, I'm clearly sick, have a severe vitamin D deficiency and the PMS. I don't want it to be something where you're like not satisfied because I am a sick person.
And this is what I was saying before, right? At least with like a toxic fuckboy, what you see is what you get. But people like Ramses will sit there and listen to like emotionally intelligent conversation talking points, you know, and learn how to come off as emotionally intelligent when really they're just manipulative, cold, and cunning. Next, we have this insane conversation on the boat where Marissa is like, oh, Ramses, are you going to invite your family to the wedding? And Ramses proceeds to go like, oh, no, not really. They don't really know anything about what's going on. I mean, maybe they know through my ex who they have on Facebook, which first off, it doesn't even make sense to me. Like, is the idea that his ex is probably shit talking the fact that he's on Love is Blind and because they have her added, they would know, but it's like, why say that? But then on top of that, he goes like, oh yeah, my family came to me and my ex's wedding, but they're not coming to this wedding. It's like, what are you doing? Also, Ramses is clearly in love with his ex, right? Like, can we just be real? In the next conversation that I'm going to talk about, he literally references the fact that like, oh, you know, I was talking to my friends and I just realized like how hard my ex took it. I think he's just looking for his ex in Marissa. And I wouldn't be surprised if his ex went on the pill when he manipulated her and he's disappointed that Marissa doesn't. Also, circling back to that conversation about the fact that like the moment she doesn't want to have sex with him, he starts to turn on her. I think that was the turning point in this relationship. I think he realized he couldn't manipulate her into like going on the pill. He couldn't manipulate her into having sex literally every single time he wants it. And I think he turned on her. And there was this really interesting TikTok I saw talking about this and relating it to this Beyonce song, where the core of this Beyonce song was, when I say no, it feels like every single time I've said yes is forgotten. I'm paraphrasing a bit, but I feel like that's what we saw play out in Marissa and Ramses. You know, the moment she can't put out, essentially, he just turns on her and starts being cruel and mean and talking about his ex and living in the past. So let's finally talk about the breakup. In probably the most devastating part of the whole show, I wish they didn't play this goofy music, because if they didn't play the goofy music, I would have been crying. Ramses breaks up with Marissa 4 days before the wedding, and he goes like, oh, you know, like, I just, you know, I really loved your energy, but I feel like when we're living together, like, you know, it's just not super compatible. You know, I just don't know. He gave no clear-cut examples. He didn't give her any room to say, oh, I can change that. I can work on that, really. And the thing is, I don't think he has any reasons. I think what's really going on is if he was telling the truth is, I can't manipulate you the way I thought I could. You don't put out literally every single day, which I really needed. You didn't go on the birth control pill. He can't say any of that because he knows it sounds awful. So instead he goes like, oh, I just don't know if we're like compatible. And she goes, give me examples. And he goes, I just can't. It's just like, I don't know. And like, look, to an extent, do I get the idea that like maybe you want to live together longer and figure out your quirks before getting married? For sure. If that's the case, though, do not go on Love is Blind. I cannot stand Ramses. The way he broke up with her even was insane. And yeah, not a fan. All right, next we have Nick and Hannah. So Hannah is someone in the pods who talked about her insecurity about her own physical appearance. She talks frequently about the fact that she doesn't want to be judged about it. She wants to meet someone who loves how she looks and she doesn't feel insecure about. And you know what? She finds that with Nick. Nick absolutely loves Hannah. And unfortunately, Hannah does not love Nick.
Maybe sometimes like a level below you. You know what I mean? I just want to be treated as an equal.
I think you get treated like an equal when you start contributing like an equal.
Is it too much though?
At times, maybe.
When I think back of like the very first like little incident we had with that like woman thing and like I wrote next right, and this was my list. It was respect, delusional, social awareness,
Maturity, confidence versus something.
maturity, and confidence versus ego. Those 5 concerns that I have are still there. They never went away, ever, because you just kept repeating the same exact actions. Social awareness, I do not see. Respect, you have none. Ego versus confidence, I feel like I need to stroke your ego for you to be happy. And I feel like you extremely say that you're a confident person and I make you unconfident when I think it's just ego. And it's delusion. It's just like, you just can't see how I feel.
You think I can't take care of myself for some reason? You think I can't take care of you? I can't take care of anything?
What are your responsibilities in life?
Payments.
What are your payments?
Myself. We talked about it.
What are they?
My car, my gas, my insurance. That's pretty much it right now.
Okay.
You know? So I live at home, right? So I don't have to pay rent. My
Right
responsibilities
now,
are...
you know that this is not going to work. We are not going to get married.
I don't think Hannah ever loved Nick. I know she says she does to Nick, but I don't think she does. Hannah is mean, Hannah is cruel, and we are going to get into why. Now, first off, I've seen a lot of people say that Nick has some growing up to do. Nick is weaponizing incompetence. Let's talk about that, because weaponizing incompetence is a real thing, right? I've seen it in my life. I know people that do it. I have family members that do it to other family members, you know? I don't know how to do that. You can do it so much better. Why don't you just do it? And then they do it wrong until the other family member does it. Like, I've seen it play out. I know it's a real thing. And look, Nick is definitely incompetent. He doesn't know how to boil water. There are things he does not know how to do. Absolutely. However, I don't think he's intentionally weaponizing it. And that's why I don't hate Nick that much. Yes, he has a lot of stuff to learn, and Hannah could probably teach him this stuff. But the way she teaches is so mean and so harsh. I was genuinely struggling to hold back tears at certain points with the way that she treated Nick. I thought it was really, really harsh. And I've read a lot of the discourse online. I've seen people say that, yeah, you know, Nick had some growing up to do. And I agree. But I do not think he deserves this. And I genuinely think that he could have been paired with a few other people that, yes, maybe would have got occasionally frustrated with him, but they could have been nurturing and loving. And the issue is, you know what? For all of Nick's faults, I genuinely think Nick loved Hannah for who Hannah was. These insecurities she had about her appearance, he did not see. And on top of that, she then took them out on him. You know, she wanted him to be this massive athlete. And I'm just going to say it. Nick is pretty athletic. Yeah, he's not this massive quarterback she was expecting, but he's a relatively fit, in shape guy. He's not super duper short. And I just feel like the way everyone talked about his physical appearance was rather cruel. And again, if it was kind of like gender swapped, I feel like we wouldn't really be letting it slide. I thought it was really quite harsh. And at every turn, I feel like Hannah just picks him apart. So let's get into it. First off, the duck situation. I don't know if I'm saying something crazy here. I think Hannah was absolutely awful in that duck situation. He was having fun. He was being funny. He said, do you want to go ride on the ducks?
Was that hot?
Told you it was gonna give me the ick, man.
I know it gave you the ick, but you really aren't feeling it, huh?
No. grossed me out a little bit.
When I saw Nick playing on the Ducks, I went, wow, he'd be such a great father. Wow, that is really sweet energy. And I feel like there'd be so many women that would kill to have someone that light, that fun, that playful. But, you know, Hannah starts to be a bit of a sour patch about it. And then this older woman comes up and starts doing the ducks with him, and they just have a fun little duck race. Hannah then proceeds to yell out something about, like, Nick, get back here or something. And then the woman makes a joke of like, oh, is your girlfriend jealous? That did not hit my brain wrong at all. I did not think that was mean of Nick. I did not think that was mean of the woman. I thought that was playful. And then from there, their relationship was in the toilet. He gets home and there is a list of 10 things she does not like about him. And they are things that are like his core character. Like, he cannot change that. She describes him as delusional. She's just riding him consistently. And you know what? Some of these things he does need to change and work on, but I don't think the way this is communicated or talked about in any way, shape, or form is okay. And I do actually think it veers into verbal abuse. Genuinely, that last section is so nasty. And look, I've seen some counterpoints talking about this. I've seen some TikToks talking about the fact that, you know, women always have to deliver themselves perfectly, or they're seen as nasty and hysterical. And I know a lot of men do actually use that as a manipulation tactic, right? Like, they discount valid issues by saying your delivery is harsh. I don't think Nick ever really did that. You know, Nick never really cut her off and went, oi, you're being unreasonable and being nasty, I'm not hearing it. He heard her out and he just kept getting beaten and beaten down. I do think there's some validity to the idea that often women are told how to be and how to speak, but I'm sorry, Hannah takes it over the line. And look, if you're going to disagree with me in the comments, I guess we never would have got along, because for me, I do not think the way Hannah talks to Nick is at all appropriate. And she knows this because when she meets Nick's parents, she's basically a different person. She's lovely. She's sweet. She is warm. She's inviting. This is the best we see Hannah, and it is sad to watch. But no, I do think Hannah is taking out a lot of her insecurities on Nick about how she looks, on his looks, about how she operates, on how he operates. And it genuinely feels like at certain points, she is resentful of the fact that he's had an easy life. Like, God forbid someone's parents pays their phone bills. And I think an important thing people are forgetting is that Hannah is currently unemployed, and Nick said he would gladly put her up. He said he would shout her entire lifestyle. So I think some of these issues she raises were a bit harsh, all right? The scene where he gets home and says, hey babe, how was your day? And she just goes, you haven't taken out the bin. The bin's full. What are you doing? It's like he was just at work. He just walked in the door. On top of that, you've been filling it up all day with your insane amount of paper towel. Also, circling back to the weaponized incompetence point, let me tell you an anecdote, right? I clean my entire house most of the time. I vacuum, I do the floors, my partner goes to work, so I do most of the stuff here at home, all right? And sometimes I have some gaps in my knowledge. If I asked her a question and her initial response was, oh my God, why can't you Google it? That would not make me want to help anymore. All right, I get it. Sometimes if someone weaponizes incompetence over and over and over again and are clearly just trying to get out of work, I get it. It's cruel. But sometimes this is just how people talk. We've moved into a new place and there's a dishwasher. I've never owned a dishwasher before, and I thought you'd be able to put, you know, dishwashing liquid in the dishwasher. But no, you need to use the pods. And I asked her that question. And like, if she came back to me and said, oh my God, have you never done dishes before? Yada, yada, yada. I wouldn't be thrilled about it. And I think the way the internet talks about the fact that if they don't know something, they should just Google it and you shouldn't have to teach people how to be, is missing the part of like basic human interaction and bonding where people just help each other and nurture each other. I get that at a certain point it becomes nasty and annoying and manipulative on the man's part, but I think Hannah just had no chill. And if you want a perfect example of this, look at his conversation with Katie. Katie is someone that outlines to him things he needs to work on, things he needs to change, and she's so gentle and kind about it, and you can tell it's registering in his brain. And then you hard cut to Hannah and that final chat. She really just wanted to roast him. I genuinely think she felt like she was having her like fuck yeah reality TV moment, tearing Nick down. Like, I think she thought the edit was going to make her look like this hard done by woman. And as a result, you just look at Nick, who's someone who's basically got battered wife syndrome. He's someone who's been walking on eggshells. He literally starts sitting there. She goes, you know, name your responsibilities. And he goes, you know, I look after a cat, and, you know, I know a cat isn't as hard as a dog. Like, he's only saying that because he knows that that's what she would say to him. You know, if he said like, oh, I look after a cat, that actually requires a bit of effort, she would go, it's not as hard as a dog. You don't even need to walk it. Like, he knows how she thinks at this point, and he's like crushed and broken down. I think it's mean. And I miss the guy that was riding the ducks. I miss the guy that was happy and riding the ducks, you know? And if I was Nick, I would have been talking to Katie being like, oh, what could have been? And it's unfortunate. I feel bad for Hannah. I think the pressure of reality TV got to her. I think she was really adamant about finding a compatible husband. And you know what? Her and Nick just aren't compatible. That's fine. And I get that that's probably tough and really hard. And she wanted someone who was more put together. And that's fair enough. That is actually fair enough. And I do feel bad for her in that instance, right? It probably sucks to like hinge your bets on someone and realize they aren't the person for you. I have some empathy there. And I even have some empathy for the fact that she's probably self-sabotaging her public image. However, I think sometimes people just aren't compatible, and you should not be this cruel. You know, there are people that I am friends with who do things that I can't understand. But at the same time, I am friends with them. And I just sit there at a certain point and go, some things are worth mentioning and some things are just the core of who those people are. And I either need to get on board with that or leave them alone, because who am I to be that mean? And Nick, in my opinion, did not deserve the way he was treated. Hot take of the video. All right, next we have Ashley and Tyler. I'm going to be real. Was this a bit of a boring couple? This is one of our only successful couples. And I know we obviously all love the drama and the fights. But yeah, I thought this was a bit of a fine couple. The big drama Ashley and Tyler get into is the fact that Tyler said he has no children, and it turns out, at least canonically in the show, that he has sperm donor children. And you know what? I get not listing them as actual children. However, where this thickens, where this gets more interesting, is outside of the show. It turns out that these baby mamas are coming forward and saying, no, these aren't sperm donor kids. These are real kids that he isn't paying child support for, that he's abandoned, that he's denying having on reality TV. So look, providing this is true, which I mean, it is, like there is a clear amount of evidence supporting this. This is insane. It's also insane because they got married and Ashley was just under the impression that they were sperm donor kids that he doesn't see. But no, these are real live kids that are involved in his life that he is abandoning. How does he think this is going to go? And I love that every time kids are brought up in this show, you see him leave the room. You know, he gets so nervous and so worried that his secret's going to come out. He can't handle it. There's this great moment where Ashley is like, oh, you know, like, I'm the woman, so like giving birth, that's a big thing for me. You just need to kind of like, you know, donate your seed. And he gets so fucking triggered. It's hilarious. The thing that's a shame with Ashley and Tyler is I think Ashley is incredible. I think she's really sweet. She's really nurturing. She's like a lovely woman. And Tyler's just another fake nice guy. He's sitting here praying to God while lying about having like 4 children or something. Like, it's insane. What's his plan? You know, what's going to happen when she checks the finances and she's like, oh, you've got all these Venmo payments to baby mama number 1, number 2, and number 3. What's going on? Like, I don't get what his long-term plan is. I hope at the reunion these things come to light and it is actually exposed, and I hope they're not together. Like, how can she stay with him after like keeping that secret? But again, this is outside of the show, so we'll see. Next we have Alexandra and Tim. I'm gonna be real, I think I'm team Tim. Is that like a hot take? I thought initially when they met and he was sitting there winding her up with the whole I've got that dog in me, I thought that was really funny and endearing. He wasn't making like edgy gross jokes. I found it hilarious, and I often don't laugh at dumb bro humor, but I thought it was quite funny. But you could tell that she was really quite annoyed at it. Like, she was not enjoying it. She did not find it funny at all. She really did not like it. But after that, they have this conversation, I think this argument, right, which we didn't see, unfortunately, but apparently the way the argument went was they were leaving home. She got rather shut down and emotionally distant. He said like, hey, like, can you please not, you know, pull away from me? What's going on? Let's talk about it. And then they go in an argument, which led to her covering his mouth mid-argument. Insane thing to do. I'm not saying this is like an unforgivable offense that is bordering on a domestic disturbance. However, I do think it's a pretty ugly way to fight, unless he was saying something just hideously awful. Yeah, pretty wild, and I'm surprised he actually like put up with it, to be honest. After that, however, they actually get along for a really long time. They're actually a rather successful couple, which is really sad given the way it ends, because it gets to this point where he meets Alexandra's parents and the father has MS, and it's this really touching moment where the father's saying, I'm glad my daughter is with a man like you. It's really, really sweet. Outside of this section, there are these moments where, you know, Tim shows Alexandra his place and she gives him shit about the leather chairs and she doesn't really like his place, which I think was a bit rich because when we go to Alexandra's place, her place is frankly a bomb. It's messy, and Tim does his best to not judge her here. And I will say there's been a lot of talk online talking about the fact that maybe Alexandra is clearly going through a bout of depression. She's going through it, and I agree, all right? When you see her apartment, it really does look like that. But also, people have been talking online about the fact that maybe she is showing early signs of MS herself. Both her parents have MS, and this sort of fatigue is part of that. And I think if that is the case, that's really tragic and really sad given the way this relationship goes. Unfortunately, I don't know if this is validated or not, but I'm putting it out there just in case it is validated down the line. However, the reason they break up is because Tim has his parents coming over, I think his family coming over, and Alexandra is obviously there to meet them. And then during the dinner, while they're there, she goes off and takes a nap. And this sounds like a really dramatic reaction, but to be honest, I do actually kind of get it, especially when he brings up the fact that, like, you know, when it was your parents, I went out and I did this, I got the barbecue meat, I did all this stuff, and when it's my parents, you can't even stay awake. Now, look, if they had a long relationship together, if she was close with the parents, if they caught up every week for years on end, no issue with her going to have a nap. But if she went for a nap without asking, I think it is pretty insane. It is pretty rude, especially if it's the first time they're meeting. And on top of that, I think what took it over the line for Tim is that when he tries to explain it to her, when he tries to talk to her about her and why it hurt him, she kind of seems to miss the point, miss the initial hurt, and give excuses rather than apologies or explanations.
As soon as the cameras cut, you decided to go to sleep at the first opportunity. These are the most important people in my life, and all I have left in this world. I've been trying to communicate with you all day during the day.
Can I just stop you right there?
Sure.
You're saying you were trying to contact me all day. I talked to you 3 times yesterday, and then at 5 o'clock you
yes,
texted
but you
me.
were asleep for most of the day.
I do think it's a really big deal. Some people have different values, but clearly family is incredibly important to him. And the fact that she couldn't see that and align with that and get why the hurt was there, I think is what threw him over the edge and resulted in the relationship crumbling. I will say, however, I didn't love his delivery, especially towards the end of this conversation. I thought it was fair enough that, you know, sometimes someone shows you who they really are and it's enough for you to get out of there. However, I don't love that he was like, I don't ever want to talk to you again or whatever he said. He said a few zingers at the end of the conversation that just felt like they were designed to hurt.
There is no scenario that I see myself standing there and saying yes to making you my wife forever. And I'm glad we can at least agree that I don't ever want to see you again.
And in reality, she made a mistake that he just didn't like. I think he got a bit harsh in that conversation, and I didn't love how he was talking to her at a few different points, even though I agreed with him and was on his side. So in a moment of weirdly uplifting positivity, we have Taylor and Garrett. I love Taylor and Garrett. This is like the only relationship couple I love from this season. Love, 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 love them. They're 2 cute little nerds. Garrett did a weird thing at the start, all right? So at the start, Taylor says like, oh, you know, I don't want to let you know my ethnicity because I'm really trying to keep Love is Blind, you know, like, so I'm going to keep that secret. And his initial response was kind of fucking weird. He goes like, oh, that sounds rather calculated. And you know what? Like, is it strategic? Yes. Is it technically a calculated move? Is it a considered decision? Yes. But calculated obviously has a negative connotation. Like, why say it like that? And the way he says it almost sounds like if you're an ethnicity that isn't white, like my previous girlfriends, that's going to be an issue. How could you keep that from me? It was weird wording. I didn't love it. It was really, really strange. I get, obviously, you know, maybe you could have made a joke and been like, oh, okay, a bit of mystery, fun. But, like, that's it. Like, why on earth would you say, like, oh, that feels really calculated, you know? And I've only had, like, white girlfriend. Weird moment. But given how good Garrett is for the rest of the time, I'm willing to excuse it as sort of, like, bad delivery, hopefully. However, from there, this is like the sweetest couple. Even when they have like a fallout, they have a drama where he didn't handle a text from his ex particularly well. They talk about like mature adults. She's not coming from a place of like, fuck you, I hate you, I can't believe you did this. It's very much like, I love you and I want to make this work, but I'm really hurting right now. And as a result, he also is able to be very kind of emotionally intelligent in these moments. He fucks up. He's not perfect. He does do some really dumb, silly things. But I think his ability to like talk it out with her, he clearly cares about Taylor, and I really like that. I think they're a good couple. I'm really rooting for them. I think Taylor is just incredibly intelligent and warm, and I think so clear and direct in what she wants and what she expects. And thankfully, Garrett is really good at listening for the most part, and kind of working with her. I think I could make for a really good relationship, and I'm happy for them. Anyways, that is Love is Blind Season 7 so far. I will talk about the reunion. I'm not feeling particularly crash hot. I think I'm a bit underslept. You can probably hear it. I've got a bit of a coarse voice at the moment, so maybe that's why I didn't make as many jokes as I thought I was going to. I thought this video was going to be really funny, but it ended up being really serious. Thank you so much for watching. I will be covering the reunion. Regardless, if you enjoyed this video and you want more, please subscribe. Please let me know what you'd like me to talk about next, and have a lovely day.